Hello and welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed. Today we'll be looking at the championship fixtures for this weekend and my predictions for those games. So confirmed that Bolton will be going ahead against Ipswich. That was up in the air, so that one will be going ahead. All of the games kick off at Saturday, one kicking off at 12:30 and the rest of those games kicking off at 3 o'clock. The first game we'll be looking at is going to be a team that will be playing in the Premier League next season in Norwich City. Norwich City are very close to promotion, and they'll be looking at going one step further to promotion with a win over QPR. So QPR, they have sacked Steve McLaren. They're all the way down in 17th, and in their last 5 games they've only picked up 2 points, which is very, very poor, leading to the dismissal of Steve McLaren. Total opposite for Norwich. They just keep on winning. They've won their last 7 league games, which is absolutely a brilliant run, and they are destined to be playing in the Premier League next season. It would take a disastrous collapse for them not to be playing in the Premier League next season. You know, they're miles in front of everyone else. They're 7 points away from Sheffield United. You know, that's a good amount of points to be at this stage of the season. They'll go up. It's just a case of whether they can finish either, you know, champions or runners up. I think they'll finish champions. I think they've had an amazing season. So I'm going to go for QPR to lose this one. I think QPR will get a reaction. I think that there will be a reaction to Steve McLaren departing, but I think they will still lose this one. Norwich City are going very well, particularly at home. I think Norwich will win. I'm going to go for Norwich to win 3-2. 3-2 I'll go for QPR to get a couple of goals and make things interesting. But I think Norwich, they play some entertaining football. They can be a little bit light at the back sometimes, and really they've had some games where it's finished 4-2, 3-2, 4-3. So they've had some really, really exciting games. I'm expecting this one to be another one. I'm going Norwich City 3, QPR 2, but it could be anything that game. Next we have Birmingham City and Leeds. So current runners up at the moment are Leeds. They are in second place. They are 2 points ahead of Sheffield United after they lost to Bristol City, which was a big surprise at home. They were taking on a Birmingham side who have lost every single game in their last 5. It's been very, very poor, and because of that 9-point deduction over the signing and the spending of money and signing of players, they are only 5 points away from the relegation zone. Look, I think they'll stay up. If it had been 12 points, I think they'd have been in trouble. But they are very, very lucky it was only 9 points. I think they'll be fine, but I think they need to start picking up some results somewhere. I think they have a hard game next week as well. So they'll be taking on Leeds this week. They'll be at home, but Leeds are going very well. Just one defeat in their last 5 games. That was to Sheffield United, who are in 3rd place. I'm going to go for Leeds to get this victory as well. I'm going to go 2-0 to Leeds. I just think Birmingham are on an awful run of form, and I can't see them beating Leeds. But then again, the Championship rather is such an unpredictable league. It wouldn't surprise me if Birmingham beat Leeds. That's the kind of league it is. Next game we have Blackburn versus Stoke. So Blackburn are currently in 16th place, having won just once in their last 5 games, beating Wigan and losing the other 4. Last game was against Aston Villa, and they lost 1-0. Stoke, they're having very, very, very exciting times. Their last 4 games have finished 0-0, which it must be very boring to watch. They had a 0-0 against Sheffield Wednesday, they had a 0-0 against Reading, they had a 0-0 against Derby County, and they had a 0-0 against QPR. I don't know how to go for this one. This one could go obviously 15th versus 16th. It could go either way. Stoke are in better form than Blackburn. Blackburn, they're at home, so they have the home advantage. I'm going to go for a 0-0 draw. I'm going to go for them to make it 5 0-0s in a row. Just because everything points to a draw in that one. Bolton are taking on Ipswich. 2 sides that really, it would be a minor miracle if these two are playing in the Championship next season. I think Ipswich, they were gone ages ago, unfortunately. One of my subscribers is a big Ipswich fan, and I always feel sorry and feel bad for saying it, but Ipswich were gone a long time ago. Bolton, another of my subscribers is a Bolton fan. I've got a couple actually. They've won 2 of their last 5 games, beating Millwall and beating QPR. 2 sides that aren't in the best of form, and they'll be taking on another side who aren't in the best of form, Ipswich. Ipswich have picked up 3 points in the last 5 games. However, all of those were draws. Draws against Nottingham Forest, which is a good point in isolation. Bristol City, who are in 5th place, that's a great point in isolation. And then a 1-1 draw with West Brom, which is a great point in isolation. But you know, either side of that, a 2-1 defeat to Reading and a 2-0 defeat to Hull. It's you know they've put in a lot of work getting some very good points, and then they go lose to Reading, which isn't very good. I'm going to go for a draw here, but it could go either way. But I'm going to go for a draw. I'm going to go Bolton 1. Ipswich 1, so 1-1 draw there, which would be not what Bolton want. They really need to win. If they win, it really does put them back into contention to stay up. They really need to get those 3 points there. Next, we have Brentford taking on Derby County. So Derby are in 7th place, having recently fallen out of the playoffs. Brentford currently find themselves in 13th place. Brentford, at the start of the season under Dean Smith, looked absolutely brilliant. They were in the playoffs. Then Thomas Frank took over after Smith left for Aston Villa. They rocketed down the table. Then they had a great run of form and come back up the table, and now they're on a poor run of form again, having picked up 1 point from their last 4 games. So that's 1 win, 1 draw, and 3 defeats in their last 5 games for Brentford. Swansea 3-0, West Brom 1-0, Sheffield United 2-0, and then a 2-1 victory over Middlesbrough, and a 0-0 with Wigan. Derby County, they've had 2 wins, 2 draws, and 1 defeat in their last 5 games, beating Rotherham 6-1 last time out, and then beating Wigan, draws with Stoke and Sheffield Wednesday, who are going very well, and then a 4-0 defeat to Aston Villa. So they are going okay. They picked up some good results, but I think this one will be very tough, particularly with Brentford playing at home. If I was going to go with anything, I'll probably go with a draw. I think I'm going for a lot of draws today. I'm going to go 2-2. So I think this one will be quite a high-scoring game, but I think it will end up being a draw, which Derby County, they need to start winning again. They need to start picking up more wins if they want to be in the playoffs coming into the season. They do have a game in hand over Aston Villa, but Aston Villa are going like a train. So it's really, really vital that they win on Saturday. Next game is Bristol City versus Wigan. Bristol City currently in 5th place after 2 wins in a row against Middlesbrough in midweek, and then beating Sheffield United away from home as well. So 2 huge wins away from home in their last 2 games. Also had 2 draws and 1 defeat in that time in their last 5. So not too bad. Wigan find themselves in 20th. They are 4 points above Rotherham, and they need to maintain this bit of run, that small run they're having at the moment. They drew 0-0 with Brentford, which is an okay point, and then beat Bolton 5-2, but they were on a wretched run of form before that. I can't see anything other than a Bristol City win here. I'm going to go 3-0 to Bristol City. I think that they'll have far too much for Wigan, and I think Wigan will be in that relegation battle coming into the season. That could go down to the wire. There's not many points in between the bottom few, which is going to be really interesting, especially with Bolton playing Ipswich. If they were to win, they'd be right back into the mix. Next, we have Hull versus Reading. Hull are in 12th and Reading are in 19th. And they have won 3 of their last 5 games, Reading. And that has taken them from danger of relegation, just eased it a little bit. They're now 4 points away from that with those wins. So that is much, much, much better under, I think it's Jose Gomez is the manager. 2-1 over Ipswich. A 3-2 win over Wigan, and a 2-1 win over Preston. Preston, who were going very, very well up until then. So that was a good 3 points. A 0-0 draw with Stoke, and a 3-0 defeat to Leeds. And they were taking on Hull, who have won 2, lost to and drawn one of their last 5 games. However, they look like they could end up in the playoffs a few weeks back, but they've sort of just come away from it now and are in mid-table after a really struggling start they had under Nigel Atkins. They went flying up the leagues, up the table, and then it's kind of drift. But I think they've had a fine season. But Red Hill, they'll be going there. They'll be full of confidence, having won a few games recently. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Hull. I think Hull will have far too much. I think that they'll have just too much for Reading. They have some very, very good players, Hull. So I think Hull will get the victory over Reading. Next game, we have Millwall versus West Brom. West Brom are in 4th. They've won their last 3 games after sacking Darren Moore after that 1-1 draw with Ipswich. They beat Swansea, they beat Brentford, and they have beaten Birmingham 3-2. That was a very good game on Friday night. They'll be taking on a Millwall side who could be in the relegation zone if results were to go against them this weekend. Millwall have picked up just 3 points in the last 5 games. That was a 2-0 victory over Birmingham. West Brom, they're looking very, very good after sacking Darren Moore, which I think was a very, very interesting development there. I really didn't think that was understandable at all. I couldn't get around it, but in all fairness, it has looked like a decent idea at the moment, having won maximum points from their next 3 games which they have played. Millwall, I don't think they'll have much of a battle in this, although it is away for West Brom, but I think West Brom will get the win regardless. I'm going to go for Millwall 1 and West Brom to score twice and win 2-1 there. Next, we have Preston versus Sheffield United. So Preston are in 10th after that shock defeat to Reading, having won 3 of their last 5 games. A 1-0 win over Birmingham, a 2-1 win over Middlesbrough, and a 1-0 win over Blackburn, and a draw with Bristol City. They'll be taking on Sheffield United, who will be desperate to put that result behind them at the weekend against Bristol City. With Norwich playing QPR, you'd expect them to beat them. With Birmingham on a terrible run of form, you'd expect them to lose against Leeds. So they need to keep pace, Sheffield United, and go to Preston and win. And I think that's going to be a difficult task because they are going very well themselves, particularly at home. They're a very good side. So I think this one will be tough. Very tough. But I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I don't think Sheffield United will go there and win. I think they'll draw. However, they did go to Leeds and win. So that's something we need to keep in mind. But I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw there, which could see them even further behind if results weren't to go their way. Next, we have Rotherham versus Nottingham Forest. And this game could be huge, with Millwall having a tough game against West Brom. Rotherham could take advantage with a win. They need to win to go above Millwall. They've won 2 of their last 5 games, beating QPR 2-1 and beating Blackburn 3-2. Nottingham Forest are in 9th place, having won 2 of their last 5 games. This one could go either way. Home form, Rotherham, they've done okay. They're in 20th, which isn't the best, but they've picked up some very, very good draws. I know they've drawn with both the Sheffield clubs. They've lost the same amount as Nottingham Forest, to have the 5th best record in the division. So their home form isn't too bad. I'm going to go for another draw. I'm going to go 1 apiece. I don't think there'll be a lot between it, and Rotherham would be level on points with Millwall if they were to lose. But that could be a huge game taking place at the New York Stadium. Sheffield Wednesday take on Aston Villa, 2 sides that are going very, very well. I don't think Sheffield Wednesday have lost under Steve Bruce since he took over at the start of February. So they're going very, very well. And Aston Villa are absolutely flying. They've won their last 5 league games, but could be even more than that. No, it's just the last 5, which is absolutely fantastic. They are now in 6th place. I thought when Dean Smith went in, they'd end up in the playoffs. It's taken a while, but they are starting to look very good. And I think that Aston Villa will go there. Their former club of Steve Bruce. Steve Bruce was sacked at the beginning of the season, and Aston Villa could go there and break the record so far that he has had with no defeat. I'm going to go for Aston Villa to go there and win. I'm going to go 2-0 to Aston Villa. Aston Villa are flying at the moment and should be able to beat a mid-table Sheffield Wednesday team. Even though they're going very well at the minute, I'm going to go 2-0 to Villa. The final game is Swansea City versus Middlesbrough. Swansea City find themselves in 14th place. They've just fallen down the league a little bit. Middlesbrough are in a terrible run of form. They've lost every single game of their last 5. Swansea City will be taking a bit of confidence from that, the fact that Middlesbrough are on a terrible run of form. They're starting to fall away from the playoffs now, Middlesbrough. They need to do something. Swansea, I think they will beat Middlesbrough because of this bad run of form. I'm going to go 2-1 to Swansea, and that is my final prediction. Thank you so much for watching till the end. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't already, feel free to get your predictions into the comments. I'd really appreciate that. I'd love to hear what everyone else thinks, see how wrong I am compared to everyone else. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. My name is Mike, and I will see you soon.